Order and have the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Well, the introductory roll call
President Cook,
here.
Vice President Dom,
Here.
Treasurer Prince,
Here.
Secretary Thomas, here, Trustee Everard,
Here.
Trustee Gayton,
Here.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Thank you. Conservation ethic. Your voice. You do 6, and we'll have Chris do 5.
Goal number 6, to foster a conservation ethic among all of us, regardless of the basis of or our interest in nature, to develop a greater awareness of our role in and responsibility for the total community of life. A conservation ethic asks us to assume a moral duty to become educated about conservation issues and then to act on that information. The conservation ethic is an attitude that recognizes the importance of preserving the natural heritage of the county's open space.
This is
Goal 5, to ensure sufficient integration of the key district functions. In essence, educational services, site planning, land and facility management, and natural resource management to maximize the overall effectiveness of the district.
Thank you, and Pat will ask you to do the stewardship pledge, and you can combine number 5 and number 6.
We pledge to make a difference by standing up for water, wildlife, and way of life in McHenry County. Our quality of life in McHenry County depends on healthy and sustainable natural resources, thoughtfully developed cities and towns, a strong economy, and beautiful outdoor places to explore, discover, and recreate. 6, we will spark hope for a future more closely intertwined with the natural world.
I think we're ready to adopt the agenda then. Any discussion? Does anyone have anything that was discussed about the agenda? We reviewed it last week. So I have a motion to adopt and second. And the roll, please.
Secretary Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman,
Yes.
Trustee Gayton,
Yes.
Vice President Dom,
Yes.
Trustee Everard,
Yes.
Treasurer Prince,
Yes.
and President Cook.
Yes. Okay, so 7.0 introductions, presentations, and recognition
There is none.
this evening. Okay. The trustee report. Well, we talked about a few things last time. Does anybody have any additional comments that they wish to make at this?
Yeah, for
point?
for the green drinks and for the foundation.
Yes,
So for green drinks, the focus was on diesel engines, which is why I brought up as we're looking at vehicles down the road. The focus of this was really to say that we got to get away from diesel. Something like 7% of the vehicles are diesel, yet 36% of particulate matter comes from diesel fuel. So this group that was presenting is very strong on advancing legislation toward eliminating cars and forcing into getting rid of diesel engines and forcing it into something else. And the model for it is California. California, as of after 2024, any new heavy truck will have to be non-diesel, preferably electric. And the problem with that, the people pushing back on it, is there are not nearly enough charging stations. Those big diesels, those big trucks, and they get 100-mile range. So, they've got to stop more frequently, and the infrastructure is just not there for it. Yet the law is going to go into effect at the end of 24. So, they're racing to figure it out whether they have to back off the legislation or increase the infrastructure. But the whole country's looking at it because California is the 4th largest economy by itself. And, with emissions and mileage laws that started in California pretty much go nationwide, because the car companies, if they adopted California, the market's so big, you may as well adopt it for everyone. So it's a significant thing to watch out. Anyway, again, that's why I brought it up at the budget meeting. In terms of the foundation meeting, they really had a long but thorough good meeting. they had their auditor there, and it was about an hour and 20 minutes on that, but some good stuff came out of it. And they're, certainly financially sound. They looked at a couple different things that that they're have policies for, that it might be something that we think about at some point, unless it's already in our bylaws. But accepting donations for cryptocurrencies and cannabis dispensaries. If either one of those, if any person were to make a donation to us in the form of cryptocurrency, how would we handle that? That's one of the things that the foundation is looking at. I found that kind of interesting. October, they had Oktoberfest, and 730 oak trees were planted as a part of that initiative, which I thought was pretty neat. That's good. They reviewed our project list and seemed very supportive of our plans. And another interesting thing they showed was over the last 5 years, the percentage of the public giving donations as opposed to one or two big donors they're now the majority of their contributions in this last year. And there's like a 5-year trend line just going linear, where it's going from individuals to more and more people are donating to them. And in fact, the auditor actually suggested they even take a look at modifying the type of charity that they are, 5039 or whatever it is, to something else, which would actually give them more flexibility and actually help them help us. So that'll be something for them to consider as they move forward.
I'm sure they probably starting to keep track of repeat donations, so that once we get a core group and it's part of that individual family's charity list, it can just continue.
Yeah.
So,
And they went, I want to say the number is like 5 years ago was 37% from public, and now I want to say it's 56. Might be off one or two numbers, but that's the relationship. Still I have.
that's great.
I had one thing with the foundation, just so the board is aware too, and this just got pushed, it's new news. But the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is always Giving Tuesday. And the foundation campaign for that. And what they got a challenge gift that was been given, they got a donation. And so basically would mean that'd be for the $10,000 to put forth, if they can raise that, then they'll get a tip in with that. So really a big push here that would help. Obviously, nature accessible for all, doing environmental education and protecting some greenway corridors. So we'll be sending out some information. Obviously, I think board members are already on our mailing list. You should probably see that hit your email, and our marketing team has been helping the foundation promote that. So Giving Tuesday, that's the day to give, make your gift, and help advance this stewardship pledge. And we're just very grateful that this is kind of coming forward for that to happen. So
One minor thing is that, and I don't know if they finalized it, they proposed a new logo. They had some mock-ups of the logo, which is very, very similar to ours, except the foundation is in kind of big block letters below it, so we can kind of tell the difference, but it's consistent, I think, with ours.
and let me step back. They did get a donation. The 5,000 is being to the match, so it would be a total of 10,000 to. Just to clarify. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Yeah, they sent those emails out.
You got that. Okay, great.
All right, is Kelly
Kelly was
available?
driving this evening. I don't see her.
And she spoke last week, so maybe she gave us some update of her comments. So, all right, the president's report. Well, I want to thank you all for participating in our various subcommittees and keeping me on track. And time flies. My term is almost halfway over. If anyone feels aggravated or neglected or has something that they'd like to change about how the meetings are done or how we're working together, please let me know. My presence in this seat is very transitory. I don't have a title to the seat, so I'm appreciative of your support. And Elizabeth, I did have a question. In fact, as I drove over and with Ed here, obviously Ed's division is going to be undergoing some changes because Brad is leaving. And I don't know if it is you and Ed, the powers that be and the staff put together succession planning. If any input from the board before you present the data or your conclusions to the board. And if you thought it would be helpful to have a trustee sit in on 1 or 2 planning sessions, I would be happy to ask someone to volunteer because maybe that could be helpful, maybe not, but I had the thought, so I throw it out.
Sure, and clearly, there's always an opportunity to dialogue and looking at ways because you can kind of organize and so we are going through that process. We look to long-term planning for the district, not necessarily the people that are in the seats, but how they function to the operations of the organization. And then when we layer the second piece into it, then you're looking to the talents of the people that are there and how do you grow them and kind of what their piece is. But yeah, everybody has different experiences in that. And
Well, it could be an educational opportunity for one of the trustees.
does anybody have an interest in as far as just of that nature of how we go through a reorg analysis and
Well, think about it, and if you suddenly get the urge, let me know or let Elizabeth know, because I think it would be.
When's that process starting?
well, we've been in conversation for quite some time. And knowing for a variety of variables, but we will also have an executive session next month on specifics.
All right, good. Public comments. Anyone in the public out there?
There are none.
Thank you.
We getting to the public comments and did we get back to the snowmobile and?
Well, I think we're waiting for something from in the spring, as I understood it, and that we had sort of set a no change this fall, winter, but hoping to have something for the next season.
I believe both operations and natural resources are working on it.
Right. It's been assigned to Director of Operations Planning and Public Safety Kramer to work with his team. It becomes now a planning process versus natural resources, but when they do the planning, they incorporate natural resources as part of that conversation. I did ask for a timeline, and clearly we know a date critical is you're going to get the hunting directive in the spring. And so we want to have kind of what the plan layout is going to look like and have that to you before that critical date. And clearly we want to keep moving forward. So whatever work needs to be done, we have all those decision processes all completed, and they will involve the stakeholder group to my knowledge as well. So they'll be selecting, some representatives from the snowmobile club, obviously addressing the stakeholders from the hunting community that have been involved in our hunting program, because we know that both groups need to have voice and representation.
All right, well, good. And then other things that were pending, there was going to be I think the demolition that was going to begin down in the Lost Valley on the football building, and then some type of professional evaluation of the building on Harts Road as to whether it could be suitable for the shop translocation, and are those things underway?
So if I can, Amy is online here, and Amy's heading up that process. So would you speak to that, Amy, please, on where we at and what do we expect to see next month?
Sure, we are. both of them are in progress. Just spoke with the architecture firm today. So it's just taking a little bit of time. Everything takes a little bit more time right now. And the Glacial Park, the demo project, we're still working on permitting. It's with the utilities, and it's as presented, it was very complicated. And so we're still working through that progress, but it is moving. It's just moving slower. We did move, one of the transformers was removed. So we were having some small successes. That was done just a couple of weeks ago at the research field station. We'll work towards having an early spring. We have snakes that have a habitat at the research field station that we have to be cognizant of as well. So again, each of the three buildings have their own little unique characteristics that we're trying to work around. But this spring, you will we'll see more movement than the increments that we've done. And I hope that next month we'll have some information from the feasibility study. So.
Thank you. I didn't mean to spring that on you. But okay.
Yep.
All right. I noticed as I drove on 31 that ComEd is starting to do their directional boring along the side of the road. Traffic is down to one thing. So that'll be going on for a while. Okay. Well, moving right along, we're at the board business consent agenda.
Yes, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as stated as 12.1, approval of minutes of previous meetings, 12.1A, September 12th, 2022, committee of the whole, executive session, 12.1B, October 20th, 2022, committee of the whole, 12.1C, October 25th, 2022, regular meeting, 12.2, acceptance of the treasurer's report, 12.2A, acceptance of the treasurer's report for October 31st, 2022, as presented, 12.3, resolution number 22-91, a resolution adopting the 2023 meeting schedule for the McHenry County Board of Trustees. 12.4, resolution number 22-92, authorizing the executive director execute an agreement with T-Mobile to provide the dial pad VoIP solution to replace the district's POTS phone system. 12.5, resolution number 22-93, appointing delegate and alternates to the IAPD annual business meeting on January 28th, 2023. 12.6, resolution number 22-94, approving the appointment of directors to the McHenry County Conservation Foundation. 12.7, rescind resolution number 22-87, authorizing the executive director to execute the listed agricultural leases with terms beginning March 1st, 2023 on 14 parcels containing approximately 898 plus or minus acres due to incorrect percentages listed on the motion. 12.8, resolution number 22-95, authorizing the executive director to execute the listed agricultural leases with terms beginning March 1st, 2023 on 14 parcels containing approximately 898 plus or minus acres. 12.9, resolution number 22-96, to submit 2 separate checks to IDOT for final invoice number 125021 for phase 4 of the project in the amount of $11,174.71, and final invoice number 125014 for phase 2 of the project of the amount of $85,794.22. 12.10, ordinance number 22-1021, authorizing the transfer of funds between budget line items 202-09-965 and 02-09-966 with the dedicated account capital fund in the amount of $96,968.93 for fiscal year 2023. 12.11, resolution number 22-97, authorizing the executive director to execute a grant agreement with the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation for an amount of $234,000 for the Dutch Creek Headwaters Wetlands and Remnant Oaks addition to Pioneer Fen Conservation Area.
Okay, then can we have a second? Second. We have a second from Sean, so you can call the vote, please.
Trustee Gayton.
Yes.
Secretary Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Trustee Everard.
Yes.
Vice President Dom.
Yes.
Treasurer Fritz.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes. Thank you. So I'm just gonna make a comment that as I looked at the treasurer's report, it was sort of nice to see that year to date, we have a surplus of about $975,000. And that results from increased revenues and the farm lease and Illinois replacement tax and interest payments above what was budgeted. And also on the expense side, approximately $300 or $300,000 less of expenditures. So going into the second half of the year with some extra money. I don't know if Andy is out there and if his voice is recovered. Wanted to make any comments about fiscal picture.
My voice has recovered somewhat. I'm feeling much better. Still a little bit of a cough. That's why I didn't grace you with my presence in the room tonight. I'd say you summed it up pretty good. The revenues are very positive surplus. It will be there and probably continue to grow through the end of the year, at least on the interest income side. The expense side, depending on when all those vehicles come in that are backlogged, that could knock that expense surplus down quite a bit, if not take up most of it. But that's yet to be determined here.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go on to the approval of the bills payable.
Okay, I move for the approval of bills payable for the month of October 2022. 13.1A for the treasurer's internal audit. And then 13.1B, consideration to approve the payment of bills is indicated in the submission of bills pending report for the month ending October 31, 2022.
Second. And a second from Sean.
Vice President Dom.
Yes.
Trustee Everard.
Yes.
Secretary Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Treasurer Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Gayton.
Yes.
And President Cook.
Yes, thank you. 13.2, we discussed this at the last meeting and came to a conclusion, consensus to go ahead with the discounted rate on the wetland mitigation bank sales. So if there's any further discussion, we can do that. Otherwise, Ray, would you make a motion regarding 13.2, please?
Consideration of a motion to adopt resolution number 22-98, a resolution approving the sale of 3.33 acres of wetland credits and 300 linear feet of stream credits to the McHenry County Division of Transportation at a discounted rate of $80,000 per acre for wetland credits and the board approved rate of $600 per linear foot for stream credits, and authorizing the executive director to execute any and all necessary documents for the sale.
I'll be happy to second it since I was originally opposed.
Go ahead, proceed.
Treasurer Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Everard.
Yes.
Vice President Dom.
Yes.
Secretary Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman.
Yes.
Trustee Gayton.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
Yes, it's unanimous.
So now we go to 13.3, which we also reviewed at the COW, and any further points of discussion regarding that? Sean, would you make a motion to adopt 13.3?
Sure. Yeah, we have a consideration of a motion to adopt resolution 22-99, a resolution supporting the city of McHenry's request for a 12-year extension to the tax increment financing or TIF district to revitalize their downtown and riverfront area in accordance with the vision and goals of the redevelopment plan.
I'll second.
And a second from Chris, so.
Trustee Everard,
Yes.
Vice President Dom,
Yes.
Trustee Zimmerman,
Yes.
Treasurer Prince.
Yes.
Trustee Gayton,
Yes.
Secretary Thomas.
Yes.
And President Cook.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. We're on a roll. All right, Elizabeth.
Okay, I'm going to be brief. First of all, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I wish everyone good health and an enjoyable time this Thanksgiving holiday. We will be having a lot of things come forward next month for December and something to consider. And we can talk about it further if we want to do maybe a gathering or afterwards. We'll acknowledge and recognize Brad Woodson for his years of service and retirement. So we may just have a little social following that meeting here. If the board would still be inclined for the holidays and we can just do a little bit of a festive treat. I don't know if the meeting's long on the cow, so Bill, you and I will work through how all that's gonna look like. But that was the thought on that. There is the McCog, anybody for their holiday event, and I did pull that here if I can locate that. It's always a great event of the year to attend. It's on December 7th. If anyone's interested, it will be at Pilates Hideaway in Cary, hosted by Mayor Mark Koenig, with cocktails at 5:30, dinner at 6:30. So that is usually the most attended of the elected officials' time. So if you want to kind of make connections there, I would highly encourage you, let me know and we'll get.
When's the last date you think we can get in? I just
Ah,
taking my wife to the airport that day. I got kids to take care of. I'm just like, I don't know.
December 2nd, you need to let
Second.
Shayla know. So if you're interested, that's the date certain. Let's see here, McHenry County, and I will send this out to you and we're gonna help them promote it. Thanks to our marketing team. They've been working on our 2050 plan. And they are doing some community visioning workshops, both in person and then there's a virtual version that you can attend and see that as well. And they would like us to spread the word on this and get people out to give feedback on their comprehensive plan. So I will send that, I think I did send it already out to you this afternoon, but we're highly encourage board members to take a look at that. And then next month too, just wanted to kind of update the board. I believe we've got a good resolution here with the city of Crystal Lake. They've asked and Val had shared before, looking to make a water line and they need some a transfer easement from us to be able to do that. And Val, I hope I got that right. So they had passed a resolution by their city council last month. Our attorney, Andrew Payne, and we've shared with them all along that it needed to be an ordinance. You know, City of Crystal Lake is home rule. We don't abide by that. We have our own guidelines under the Conservation District Act is specifically of how we have to work. And so I did have a great conversation with their interim city manager today, and they are going to move forward and adopt an ordinance, which is the appropriate vehicle to use for this to occur. We're going to get a chance to look at it before it goes forward and they'll just place it on a consent agenda. So just wanted to make sure that everybody had that background. We're not trying to be difficult. We have a little bit of a past history with City of Crystal Lake on some general pieces and we always go above and beyond to, you know, but we have to do things that we're required to do legally. And sometimes that's not understood by other
So there's
people.
a distinction between a resolution and an ordinance.
Correct. And how it's to be. And sometimes in a lot of cases, we can use them interchange. We do have specifics and council has said, you know, particularly ordinance usually has to do with money, something of more significance, where a resolution is something of, you know, you do as a formality to help organize.
I make resolutions New Year's.
Yeah.
Right. But it was more it has to do with and land and money and transfers. That's why ordinances instead of resolutions. Yeah. You don't see so many ordinances. If we have a land acquisition, it's an ordinance. If you see a budget line transfer, it's an ordinance. When you approve our budget, it's an ordinance. If it's a policy change, it's an ordinance. Otherwise, everything else is resolution. Just for that educational.
Yeah.
Very good.
And that's all I have.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, well, I think our trustees, we sort of Lloyd brought us up to date. Does anyone else have anything that they wish to bring up and enlighten us about what they've been up to? That's got the corn in and Chris, you guys, I'm sure you have opinions about diesel vehicles and where this is going. And that's perhaps.
I've got one comment on the diesel. All the new vehicles now, I think the air coming out is almost cleaner than the air going in. With all this particulate filters but it's a nightmare.
So maybe there's a technical solution that
Yeah.
will keep the. diesel-
I mean, I don't know, I mean.
Well, I think, they haven't researched this electrical.
Yeah,
thing
that's-
very well because,
Where does electricity come from?
yeah, how is it produced? How does it turn out?
Yeah.
So add to that point, in our last thing, he spoke of that, we're making a big mistake by doing electric.
Well, the piece that serves the battery
Yeah.
piece, right, that's not a resource that's.
Yes. And how long does it take to get the batteries here? It's just crazy. So it's like,
And battery disposal.
Yeah,
there's-
exactly.
There's a lot of things.
yeah,
Just like wind energy and solar energy, and they're good things, but they don't really have the technology there
Right.
yet to produce enough to make it really worthwhile. I have my own wind turbine, and that's not anything that.
When it works, but.
Yeah, it's all. Just need to get things up to speed before they.
And you know, when you see pictures from the Hubble telescope and the Webb telescope, I mean, it's amazing what engineering can do. And so maybe if we just direct enough engineering talent, we can solve some of these issues. At least certainly worth the effort. Anyhow, so much for that. Any public comments out there?
Yes, I just. have
There are
one.
none.
I wanted to thank President Cook for the great job that he's been doing this whole year too, so. We should make the meetings enjoyable.
I agree, and he's done a great job, he's done a great job.
I'm not finished yet. Put my foot in my mouth before we're done. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Thank you.
Trustee Zimmerman,
Yes.
Secretary Thomas,
yes.
Trustee Everard,
Yes.
Vice President Down,
Yes.
Treasurer Prince,
Yes.
Trustee Gaten.
Yes.
And President Cook.
Yeah, thank you.